viewers. It's great to see you today. I am so pleased to introduce you to Alaina Love. Aside from just being an incredible person with a really cool name, Alaina is a force to be reckoned with. She is an author, speaker, and leadership expert. She has her own firm called Purpose Linked Consulting, where she connects the skills and passions of employees with their core purpose of the business to deliver employee engagement on steroids. She is also the creator of mypassionality.com to support people in discovering and utilizing their passions to make a positive difference. Of course, you know how we feel about purpose and passion around here, so she is perfect for our show. And she is, of course, a member of MG 100, and she is so much more. But enough from me. I want you to hear directly from her. Welcome, Alaina. It is so nice to have you here.
Charlene, it's wonderful to be with you. I'm so excited to talk about this subject.
Great. Thank you. Tell our viewers about you. What's your story? I always like to say, what's your origin story? And I think yours is really unique. So we'd love to hear from you.
It's a pretty lengthy one, but I think if I was going to encapsulate it, you could say I'm a corporate escapee who decided to take a different path with my life and with my career to help others discover who they really are at their core and help them own that and make a difference in their own lives with it. So my basic sort of foundational experience has been as a research scientist. I was a science nerd, of course, and then I made this leap from doing basic research and clinical research in a pharmaceutical environment over to HR.
Wow, that's a big switch.
Yeah, they're still scratching their head about that one. Like, right. How does that connect? I understand now, because I understand my passions, that healer is really what drove me to do all of those things. Drove me to work as a researcher. And it also drove me to go into HR, because what I would find myself increasingly doing is working with leaders and teams that were dysfunctional and struggling. And sort of my work is really to help heal those teams and help get them back on track. So that's where all of that sort of comes together for me many years later, after doing a lot of work to understand what that passion meant for me. And then I made a crazy leap. I was at executive level within HR and doing really, really well, skilled to do what I was doing, magnificent at it. But at some point it became clear to me, I am so finished with this. There's something else that I'm supposed to be doing that's more aligned with my purpose in the world. And I didn't think it was staying in that corporate position. So after sort of reaching that conclusion, I gave myself 18 months to sit with it. 18 months later, I was even more sure that that was the right decision. So I made the crazy leap. I left with no plan B. Do not do this, people.
Right. But, so you didn't have a parachute to land in. You just decided to take the leap, huh?
High wire, no net. Pretty much.
My gosh. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So that's kind of what led me to the work that I do now.
Great.
Actually.
So you said you help people get to the core of who they are. Talk to us about that. How do you do that? How does one do that?
Well, this is really a body of work that's very close and personal to me, because it's representative of the journey that I was on myself, which I imagine many of your viewers may be on, trying to figure out what comes next. What am I really here to do? And having sort of this burning feeling inside of you that you've got to get it right. You're here not to just collect a paycheck or not to just collect things, right? You're here to make a bigger difference in the world, but understanding what that is the real question. And it became clear to me that was what we were calling this thing purpose, right? This big, very esoteric concept called purpose. And nobody that I could find really understood what that meant. How exactly do you go about discovering that thing called purpose? Is it in the health and beauty aisle of Walmart, or am I going to find it? Exactly where is it? And what I began to realize is we can't really go out and find purpose because it's already within us. So it's really a matter of discovering who you are at your core. The passions that emanate from you are actually the product of the purpose that drives you. So I kind of got at purpose through the back door by identifying the passion that I was seeing in individuals. I actually, took my research nerd hat out again, and I conducted a study looking at people who were high potentials in their organization, people that the organizations thought of as these are the future C-suite leaders of our company. And I had extensive interviews with them. And what I started to notice over and over again is that the people who had kind of figured it out were demonstrating very unique patterns of passion over and over again. And as I looked at those patterns, I realized I'd been seeing them in the leaders and teams that I'd worked with my entire career. And those passions I codified into 10 archetypes, 10 passion archetypes that we all have within us to greater or lesser degrees. So I'm getting at purpose through the back door. I'm measuring what it produces. It produces passions, particular passion archetypes. And I have a psychometric tool that I've created along with a team of researchers from the University of Michigan that actually measures that in an individual.
That's great. And what do you find in people when they, we so often think that our purpose is whatever it is that we happen to be doing, and often that we happen to be doing in our careers. But I can only imagine that that isn't always our purpose. And I can only imagine that when you see people discover their passion, that has to be pretty powerful.
It's pretty amazing. I feel a little bit guilty about the work I get to do every day and get paid for because I get this really cool experience of watching people transform before my eyes. From the beginning of the conversation to the end, they are changed people because they start to recognize who they are at their core, what their real worth is, right? Who am I? How do I value myself differently? Because I now understand that I am this human being walking the planet. I have these particular passions that are mine. And those passions allow me to accomplish certain things in the world or give and serve in certain ways in the world that are my unique ways of serving. And every time I'm in a situation where I get to demonstrate those passions, I'm living my purpose. I'm living my purpose. So it's not like one thing I have to do. And when I finish that, life's complete. I've achieved my purpose. We are always in a constant state of expressing purpose in myriad ways. And how you're doing it today might be different from how you'll be doing it 2 years from now or how you were doing it 5 years ago. But once you understand that passion piece, what does the purpose within you produce? That's your sight line to all of the things that allow you to utilize those passions.
That's great. And I guess we just have to be open to the idea of transformation and discovery, that it could be very different than what we ever thought it was going to be.
100%. I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago, 20 years ago that I'd be doing the work I'm doing today, I would look at you like you had three heads. I think absolutely. Are you crazy? There's no way I'll be doing that thing that you're describing because it hadn't even been invented yet. So how could I possibly imagine it? So I do think that when you have a sense of your passions, then that becomes your, sort of your North Star. You understand if I am considering doing job X or considering entering into relationship Y, is there going to be a place for my passions to have a playground in that situation? If there is, there's a far higher likelihood that I'm going to feel fulfilled when I'm doing that thing or in that particular situation. And there's a far higher likelihood that I'll also have an opportunity to, in some way, express my purpose. I don't know what it's going to look like, and it could look different today than it did yesterday. But I know that if I've got a chance to utilize the passions, that's my key. That's sort of my hint that might be the right place for me to explore further. And so following that curiosity becomes important.
Oh, that's so true. And being willing to follow it and just see what evolves, right? And what appears. And I know, having gone through my own transformation journey, when I discovered what I believe is my purpose, it just opened up and changed everything for me.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah, it really is. And, I'm a corporate animal. And if someone had told me 5 years ago that I would walk away from a corporate job that I'd spent my entire adult life working to achieve, I would have said, oh, you're crazy. There's no way I'm going to do that. And there's no way I'd be happy about it because I like amassing stuff. And then one day, all that stuff just became stuff. Right? It wasn't it had no meaning to me.
I had the exact same experience. And I think I had it around the time that I made the decision that I needed to do something different, because my boss had told me I was in the succession plan to replace him. He was reporting to the CEO of a multinational, multi-billion dollar company, just like you. I had quote unquote made it, corner office,
Right.
garage parking space with my name on it, that whole thing, all of those outward signs of success. And I remember sitting in my house one day, and it was a lovely home that I had just built. And I had a brand new Lexus in the garage. And I had gone out and purchased a Ceylon sapphire.
Oh, yeah.
I had it mounted into a beautiful ring with diamonds around it. And I'm sitting there, watching the sunlight off of the facets in this ring and how beautiful it looks. And I'm looking around this house and I'm thinking about what I've got in the garage. And I'm thinking about all of the trips I've made that year to places that I only dreamed about going to as a child. I had a full passport of stamps. And I remember thinking to myself, is this all there is?
Right.
I
Dreaded question.
I got all the things that were supposed to be the things that quote unquote made you happy, that were signs of success and of how much people valued you and what your real worth was, all of those things. And I didn't feel it.
So, Alaina, today more than ever, people are struggling with understanding and knowing their worth or their value. And I see this especially with women and people of difference. I see it at work, but I also see it at home. When in your career or did you get to the point where you understood your worth?
I think we're all on a journey of having absolute certainty about that. I think I can look back at times in my life where it was clear I had no clue.
Right.
I thought worth was associated with do this job, they reward you with this money, you buy this stuff, and that's a representative of how good you are in the world and how much value you have. Right. I thought that for a long time. I grew up from very humble beginnings. I was looking the other day at a Zillow post of the house I grew up in, which was 480 square feet.
Oh my gosh.
Family with 3 kids, 1 bathroom. You know what it was like, right? So that's where I came from. And suddenly I'm in this very heady, high-flying corporate environment with brilliant people that I'm working with every day. So I thought the fact that I was part of that club gave me worth. Until I realized there was something more. I really let myself get in touch with that inner voice in my head that said, this isn't it, Alaina. You're here to do more. And you're going to have to wrestle with what that more is. Right. And the journey to really understanding that took me about 7 years. It wasn't an add water and stir process. It took me about 7 years. Once I landed on the deeper understanding of purpose and passion that I now hold, I'm absolutely certain about what I'm here to do. I feel a strong sense of worth for myself. And as a result, others value me more because I hold that sense of worth within myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now that you understand your worth, does that enable you to make better or different decisions about your life, your work, the people you surround yourself with? Tell me about that a little bit.
Absolutely. The most freeing thing that you can discover. It is completely freeing because it allows you to know what works for you and what doesn't, and own that. So instead of saying, well, I should do X because this is the thing that everybody's doing and this is what people expect, you're able to step back from that and say, there was a time when I might have said yes to that. But right now, as I look at what I have to accomplish in life and what I'm here to do, this doesn't fit in with what I'm here to do. So I'm going to make choices. I'm going to spend time, which is the most valuable thing we have.
Right.
Doing the things that matter most to me, that I think are contributing and in service, a larger service to the world. And if it doesn't fit that equation, that's probably not the place for me to spend my time. And so I'm much more comfortable making those choices now. And I'm far less impressed by people who have stuff and have places and are driving the brand new whatever or wearing the couture fashion, et cetera. It's lovely. I appreciate it, but it doesn't need to define me in order for me to feel that I have worth, that I have value.
Right.
That deeper understanding of self, which is where I think you start to actually unpack this equation for yourself. When you get that right, when you understand that at the deepest level, everything else makes sense. I don't know how to
Right.
put it any other way, but everything else makes sense. And then the universe starts conspiring to help you.
So the name of this show, Alaina, is Know Your Worth, Command Your Value. So I have to ask you, what advice would you give someone of any age or stage in their career or life to help them both understand their worth, but then take the actions that are needed to command their value?
This is a journey. It's a journey that asks you to look at yourself, to understand what you want out of your life, what's really important. And you can't put the stuff box down, right? It's not X house, X car, X whatever. It's what is the experience you want to have in your life? What do you want your life to count for when you get to the end of it? And then all the things that are necessary to move towards that are the things to pay attention to. The other things are just noise.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean I want people to live in poverty, right? I'm not asking
Right,
somebody
of
to become
course.
some Buddhist monk and, live very modestly. You can still enjoy great success. You can still enjoy beautiful things. I'm not suggesting that that's not possible, but I do believe it all begins with that internal journey. Who am I? What am I here to accomplish? And really trying to get some granularity around the answer to that question. What are the guiding beliefs that I hold that help me feel good about myself and help me feel a sense of thriving? What are the limiting beliefs? Those old videos
that soundtrack
that our mind about
right.
what's wrong with us, and how do those things hold me back, and how do I begin to discard some of that negative self-talk and embrace the positive aspects of who I am and what I'm here to do? We have to believe in ourselves before we can command our worth. It's interesting, one of the things that I have found over the years of doing this work, when people are very centered in who they are, there's an energetic shift that happens. The energy that they put out to others tells other people, this person understands who they are. And people are less likely to mess with that or try to challenge that because you're so centered in it. And even if they do, it's a little bit like watching a toddler have a meltdown in the candy aisle of the grocery store. You sit, you observe, this is a meltdown. We know this too shall pass. This is a 2-year-old.
Right.
Hopefully by the time they're 20, they won't be doing that.
We hope, right?
Right. So it just shifts things for you completely, I think, when you're working from that space. So I would encourage your viewers to start there. It's a hard place to start because it asks you to do some really deep introspection.
Right.
But when you start from there and you get to the other side of it with the answers, it's like you've just erected this incredibly strong foundation under you that nothing can rip away.
Right. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Alaina. How can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more about your work?
Well, an easy way to learn more about the work, especially the corporate work that I do, is at my website, thepurposelink.com, thepurposelink.com. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. Look for me under Alaina Love. And I write a monthly leadership column for Smart Brief on leadership. So if you just Google Alaina Love /Smart Brief, you'll see tons of articles and information that comes up that could be helpful as you're trying to navigate this space.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Alaina, thank you for being our expert of the day. I've so enjoyed having you with us. Viewers, please check out Alaina and all of her work, because who doesn't want to discover their passions and their purpose and live authentically? So thank you all for joining us. And just in case you haven't heard it today, you are enough. Thank you, everyone.